Report. 25%. Chapter 101. Singular snack tree, a snack that permanently increases attributes. Wow, what is such a tall building? What a beautiful house, this is too much. It's so high, it's too high. I can't even see where the top is. Natural caller inside. The rabbit human tribe who was running at night to plant spiritual things suddenly saw a 100-story building rising from the ground. One by one exclaimed, the owner seems to have added another building. Hearing the commotion outside, the little fairy who was leading the two girls to visit the city lord's mansion. Hearing the movement in the territory, he immediately walked out. Several other people also saw the huge apartment building. Chi-Chi. It's so big. It's such a tall house. Chi-Chi had never seen such a huge building before, her eyes were wide open. Bai Mengmeng sighed. Such an apartment can accommodate tens of thousands of people, right? Chu Yuyan. Your Highness has so many buildings. In the territory of ordinary people, there are only 6 enough defensive buildings. Every other one is a luxury. Even if they are descendants of aristocratic families, there will not be many buildings in the territory. But Suzy is everywhere here. Now, it is even a huge apartment building. I am afraid that only His Highness's territory can accommodate such a huge apartment. Then they saw Suzy walking out of the core barrier in a hurry. There seems to be something. Shall we go see it too? The goblin proposed, and the other 3 nodded. With curiosity, Suzy came directly to an open space. With a thought, Ri Baijing disappeared. Next moment. In the soft ground, a green sapling drilled out of the soil. The moment he came into contact with the air, he shook his body slightly. Then like a dream, instantly, it grew into a grotesque thigh several meters high. What kind of tree is this? Bai Mengmeng quickly ran to Suzy, and circled the tree twice. His eyes widened, filled with disbelief. Others were similarly surprised. The Christmas tree several meters high in front of me. There are no green leaves and fruits on the tree. Instead, it is a big tree composed entirely of various snacks. Cream cake, sweet-scented osmanthus cake, dragon beard cake, honey cake, moon cake, there are so many to eat. Bai Mengmeng looked at the colorful snacks on the tree and said, is this edible? Is it delicious? Bai Mengmeng was a little impatient, so she wanted to reach out to grab it. Chu Yuyan took her hand and said quickly, don't try it lightly, be more careful. This is a kind of kiwi fruit tree. The new unit I got is quite magical. Suzy saw that the fruit trees did not bear fruit, but instead produced various snacks, and felt a little novel. Directly explore the information of dim sum tree. Snack tree. Type. Arms. Quality. Legend. Grade 1. Upgrade method. Delicious feedback. Skills. Produce all kinds of snacks with strange effects. Introduction. Come and taste my delicious food. It can be eaten. Relying on the feedback from the people who taste the snacks to improve, this way of improvement is really strange. Seeing the introduction, Suzy couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Then he reached out first. Pick a strawberry cake from the tree. Put it near your mouth and give it a bite. The cake melts in your mouth. Silky chocolate and strawberries are a perfect match. The oil is rich in fragrance, and it is soft and attractive in the mouth. At the same time, a prompt interface appeared in front of Suzy. Physical strength +1. Permanent. It actually has the effect of increasing attributes. Surprised, Suzy quickly ate the whole strawberry cake. Physical strength +1. Permanent. Physical strength +1. Permanent. After eating the small strawberry cake, Suzy's physical strength has increased by 5 points, and it is a permanent increase. Wouldn't it be possible to become stronger by eating cakes? Suzy's eyes widened, and his heart was filled with horror. If so, the effect would be amazing. Seeing that Suzy had eaten, the others also took out a snack they wanted to eat. Wow, it's delicious, the taste is amazing. It can actually increase the attributes. Bai Mengmeng was savoring the deliciousness of the dessert. But he was suddenly surprised by the prompt that appeared in front of him. Your Highness, what kind of unit is this? This snack can actually increase attributes by 370. This is too heaven-defying. As Bai Mengmeng said, she took another one and ate it. Then there was an expression of enjoyment on his face. It's amazing. Delicious snacks grow on the tree, which can also increase attribute points. This is completely unreasonable. Chu Yuyan also discovered the nature of this unit. If other arms keep eating this kind of snacks, will they keep getting stronger? Hey, if you eat the second one, the effect will be weakened. Bai Mengmeng suddenly said, hearing that Suzy made a brief analysis. It seems that the attributes that everyone can improve are limited. Suzy knew it well, so it wouldn't be so shocking. But no, this is a new type of arms that has just been born. What if it is upgraded to the second level, or stronger? Every hero and unit in Susie's territory, even the residents, will be full of combat power. And this kind of food that can permanently improve human attributes is expensive and can be sold for sale. It is bound to be looted. Report 2. 25%. Chapter 102. Bowl with coconut trees, the upcoming world battlefield. I don't even need Yuanjing to buy food in Fanlu from now on. This snack is delicious. Chi-Chi Cherry was biting a donut with her small mouth, eating it with gusto. She had never eaten such a strange food. Different from the delicacies produced in Fanlu. This kind of dessert that grows from the tree seems to have a strange charm. You can't always eat sweets, either. Suzy shook his head. Then consume 100 source crystals again. The land not far away squirmed gently. Starting from a small sapling, a coconut tree covered with vines rose from the ground. Huge and plump coconuts hang all over the branches. What kind of fruit tree is this? Chi-Chi widened her eyes and asked. Suzy threw an appraisal in the past. Rice bowl with coconut tree. Type. Arms. Quality. Legend. Grade 1. Upgrade method. Delicious feedback. Skills. Produce all kinds of strange rice bowls. Introduction. Guess what will be in the next coconut? Nako rice bowl, Suzy said. With a big gesture, a round coconut appeared in Suzy's hand. See. Everyone cast curious eyes. Suzy broke it lightly, and the coconut was cut in half from the middle. Just opened. A strong aroma came to the nostrils, and the heat also evaporated. Everyone sniffed subconsciously, and looked at the rice bowl coconut in Suzy's hand. Half of the nata de coco is composed of fragrant rice and first-order lobsters that are fried to a bright red color. It smells so good. I really want to eat it. Bai Mengmeng stared at the rice bowl in Suzy's hand intently, saliva secreting from her mouth like crazy. Suzy smiled slightly and handed the rice bowl to her. Bai Mengmeng took it quickly, and started eating with the shy Chi-Chi. Soon, the two were addicted to the delicious food. In the future, I will plant more kiwi fruit trees of this kind. From now on, the subjects in the territory can come here to pick what they want to eat whenever they eat. Suzy planned for these fruit trees. Not only do the residents in the territory have delicious food, but they can also improve their various attributes. After eating, it will be fed back to the kiwi fruit tree to help the growth of the arms. Produce higher level food, thus forming a perfect cycle. Wen Yan, the little goblin, nodded, and it was really not that cost-effective to buy food from Fanlu. Now that there are fruit trees that can produce various delicacies, it will inevitably greatly save the consumption of source crystals. Chu Yuyan saw this scene. I feel a little envious. It is a blessing to be able to eat such delicious food every day. Thinking of the residents in the Suzy territory in the future, they will experience food with this kind of gourmet food that increases their attributes every day. The speed of belief will inevitably increase rapidly. But this kind of food that can increase the attributes of the residents every day is something that ordinary big families can't bear. Your Highness's troops are really peculiar. Is this the plant department? I don't know if His Highness is willing to sell these delicacies. If possible, she must try her best to buy some. Suzy didn't know about Chu Yuyan's various thoughts. Then Suzy consumed source crystals again. Some strange plants were summoned. Caviar grape tree, chocolate sauce tree, giant marshmallow mushroom, shark fin worker. Each one is eye-opening. Also, since then, natural territory, there is an extra strange food forest, which has gradually become a beautiful line of wind in the territory. It's just that Chi-Chi seems to like the dim sum tree very much, and sometimes gets up in the middle of the night to come and steal it. Endless continents, round sky and earth. I don't know how many big and small worlds came from the fusion. The central region of the southeastern part of the mainland. In a smoky cloud, there is a large island floating in Tata. There are groups of majestic palaces on the island, with layers of pavilions, which are too beautiful to behold. On the topmost floor of the floating island, a large hall stands on it. At the top of the main hall, there is a majestic white tiger sculpture. At this time, in the main hall, thousands of people gathered in it, discussing in succession. There are 12 black robes on top of it. The Lord summoned us today. Why? I don't know, but I heard from the gossip that one of the 12 protectors, Ma Protector, her younger brother died. I was furious because of this. I ignited several territories. I've heard that it might be related to the one in Vermilion Bird. It seems that there was an accident in the blockade. That's right, it seems that there are still 10 teams that were wiped out directly. The people below were talking about it. Suddenly, on the highest throne, a tall and straight figure emerged. After he appeared, everyone below immediately stopped discussing and stood up neatly. Leader, I propose to send troops immediately to directly destroy the natural territory. As soon as he came up, a Dharma protector standing at the front stood up, clasped his hands and clasped his fists, and reported upwards. Now they are the White Tiger Alliance, dominating the southeastern part of the mainland. While the people led by Vermilion Bird have just arrived. They can be completely caught off guard. Hearing this, the others remain silent. Neither for nor against. The Lord sitting at the top taps the throne with his finger. The reason why he summoned all his men. It is because of the news from the man with the scar. That person actually had a legendary car in his hand. Such a treasure. Enough to make any lord's heart flutter. He is also included. B. The world battlefield is about to start, and it's not easy to make troubles now. Don't forget, our goal is to compete for the first place in the standings. The rewards for this Xiaoju Tianjiao competition are very rich. Every time you rank in the world battlefield, you will be given a lot of rewards, and there may even be legendary equipment. I hope you can hit the list as much as possible. Lin Ming shook his head and spoke to the crowd below. He came here with a military order. Only then did he obtain an intermediate artifact from the Lord. The purpose is to obtain the heart of the world for Lord White Tiger. Everything else can be pushed back. Yes, everyone in the audience opened their mouths. At the same time, my heart is hot. In order to participate in this Tianjiao competition, the family took out all the old ones. The purpose is to obtain this huge reward. Some people are even able to take advantage of this opportunity to become a god. With such an opportunity here, how could they not be excited? Report 2. 25%. Chapter 103. Chi-Chi Emotion. Natural Color. Night. In watching pool, gushing out from the dragon head and phoenix beak, the hot spring water with a touch of luster flows in watching pool. In the clouds and mist, Suzy sat aside, enjoying a moment of peace. After planting a strange forest, Suzy then arranged a room for the new catgirls. Open the territory panel. Meditate in mind. Territory. Natural territory. Affiliation. Suzy. Grade. 88. Area. 4,000 square kilometers. Building. Watching pool. City Lord's Mansion. Pond. Building. Transformation. 4,000 source crystals per day. 400 source points per day. Resident. 435. Power of Faith. 101 strands per day. Hundreds of catmen have been added, and Alice has added some insect soldiers. The faith has officially exceeded 100 per day. The number is already large, but it is still too small. It is almost indefinitely far away to satisfy the amount of becoming a god. However, it is still a little inappropriate to let Shenliu directly attack the cat people. If the cat people become unconscious puppets, it will be a disaster. Suzy thought about it and decided to change 733 subjects. So Zerg is more suitable, because there is no need to change the batch. Phew, it's comfortable. Suzy immersed his whole body in the flowing water. Steaming water vapor makes one feel drowsy. When I entered watching pool for the first time, the shadow I saw in a trance seemed to be just an illusion. It hasn't been seen since then. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps approaching from far behind. Suzy looked back. It was Chi-Chi who was walking slowly. Leader, my lord, do you need to wipe your back? Chi-Chi has a ruddy complexion. A pair of small rabbit ears swing up and down from time to time. With big red eyes, his eyes dodged, and he lowered his head shyly, but he couldn't see his toes. Suzy scanned Chi-Chi up and down. The white bathrobe is like a tent set up by the tall and straight mountains. The crystal-clear jade arms are shyly carried behind her back. Two pairs of cute little feet make people feel like they can't put it down. Chi-Chi lowered her head, not daring to look at Suzy. But she could feel Suzy's burning eyes on her body. This made her feel like she was being watched from top to bottom. Fairy Sister said, "This is the task of the personal maid. Let her take advantage of the Lord's bath time to rub his back and massage him." Although shy, she came anyway. Seeing Chi-Chi like this, Suzy's eyes light up slightly. With a thought in my mind. Then I figured it was probably the little goblin's fault. With Chi-Chi's shy appearance, she wouldn't be so proactive. But even though she knew from time to time, Chi-Chi's figure was very predictable. But this time it is exceptionally prominent. This is undoubtedly a critical blow to Suzy, who has heavy chest control. The person who provokes can't move his eyes. Come on, talk to me. Suzy waved to her. Chi-Chi nodded, and walked to Suzy's side with small steps. Chi-Chi hugged her chest with one hand to prevent the towel from falling off. The other side stretched out her white, tender and smooth feet cautiously. Gently put it in the pool a little bit, and then withdraw it like a kitten. Call. Not too hot. Chi-Chi breathed a sigh of relief, and then wanted to slowly enter the pool. But the corners of Susie's mouth curled up slightly. He quickly stretched out a hand, and the moment he caught Chi-Chi's arm, he gently tugged. Chi-Chi's body lost her balance, and she closed her eyes subconsciously in a hurry. Plop. The sound of falling water stirred the water in the pool. Are you all right? A magnetic voice sounded beside Chi-Chi's ear. No, nothing. Chi-Chi opened her eyes. Only then did I discover that half of my body was tightly hugged by the Lord. Her body has been completely attached to Lord's body. Are you still used to living in the territory? Susie didn't do anything, just adjusted Chi-Chi's sitting posture. Allow her to straddle her thighs. The two sat facing each other. Very, very good. This is the life I used to dream of. Speaking of territory, Chi-Chi was no longer so nervous. Susie held the hand around Chi-Chi's waist, feeling that her tight willow waist seemed to be a little loose. In the past, the life of the rabbitmen was very poor. In the wasteland, there were many monsters. The rabbitmen had no power. They would often be eaten, so they had to keep migrating. Chi-Chi said. Her tone was very low. When the last Lord came, we thought it would give the rabbit people a safety guarantee. But who knew that in just one day, the Lord was killed? All the young people of our rabbit people are gone. Quote. However, Lord, you are different. Your territory is too powerful. I can't believe that I was so lucky to meet Lord. As Chi-Chi spoke, the shyness on her face dissipated, her eyes stared straight at Susie. My lord, will you not want me one day? Chi-Chi looked at Susie's face and said worriedly. The cat people that Susie brought back today gave her a sense of crisis. Worried that Susie doesn't like their bunny people anymore. Worried that Susie would dislike them. Don't worry, it won't, I assure you. Susie patted the girl's smooth shoulder and comforted softly. Since he has accepted the rabbitmen as his subjects, then he will be responsible to the end. Thank you, Lord. You are very kind. Wen Yan. Chi-Chi rested her little head on Susie's shoulder like a little girl. My lord, do you like Chi-Chi? Chi-Chi bit her lip and whispered softly in Susie's ear. I like it, Chi-Chi is so cute after all. Susie smiled and said directly. I also like the Lord, I like it very much. When I am with the Lord, Chi-Chi feels full of security. I don't have to be afraid of the wolves outside taking Chi-Chi tons away in the middle of the night. As Chi-Chi said, her arms climbed up Susie's neck. The lovely eyes met Susie's gaze. Eyes facing each other, Susie saw that Chi-Chi's eyes were gradually turning red. According to what Susie learned about the rabbitmen in the textbook. Susie knows. Chi-Chi was emotional. Report 1. 26%. Chapter 104. The Ecstasy Little Fairy, Two Resentful Daughters. Susie didn't eat Chi-Chi in the end. It's not that Susie can't do it, it's that Chi-Chi can't do it today. Unexpectedly, Chi-Chi, who was emotional, couldn't control her emotions and suddenly collapsed. The whole pool was stained red. The two of them were stunned. With Chi-Chi blushing as if about to drip, Susie washed her body with her, and then sent her back to the room. Leader, my lord, I didn't mean to. Chi-Chi wrapped herself tightly in the quilt, making a shy voice. She felt so ashamed. The Lord won't hate her, will he? It's okay, we'll do the same next time. Susie comforted softly. Although he has been aroused by Chi-Chi, he can't fight bloody battles, can he? Thank you, Lord. Then, do you need me to help you there? Chi-Chi, slightly trembling, said the embarrassing words. Fairy sister said, if it cannot be released, it will be suffocated. Although she can't walk in the street to greet her, she can still help with her hands. This, Susie thought for a while, and was a little moved. But thinking that Chi-Chi is not feeling well now, forget it. No, take a good rest today, I'll go see your fairy sister. Susie patted on the bulging quilt outside. Chi-Chi shook her head in the bed. Kaz. Although the bedroom door was opened, it was closed again. The shy Chi-Kong slowly got out of the bed. Looking at the direction Susie left. Chi-Chi, you are too useless. Next time, you must not be so nervous. Chi-Chi whispered in her mouth. Very disappointed in myself. Seductive moonlight, in the goblin's exclusive bedroom. She lay listlessly by the window. Only a thin white gauze was worn on her slim body. The crystal clear skin hidden in the body is looming. With one hand resting on her white chin. The breeze blows, like a beautiful picture scroll. Mimo looks through the door and window, looking in the direction of the world tree from time to time. I can imagine the master and Chi-Chi playing in the pool. Master, you can't just forget about the little goblin if you have Chi-Chi. The little goblin slightly parted her red lips and muttered to herself. How could you forget? You are my little fairy, and if I forget, no one can forget you. Suddenly, a magnetic voice came from behind. The little goblin's tender body trembled violently, and then turned around quickly. Master, I haven't finished talking yet. A silky hand passed through her waist. The spring night is short, let's talk about it tomorrow. Susie caressed the beauty's face with his hand. The little fairy put her hands on Susie's neck, and looked into Susie's eyes affectionately. Susie let out a breath and blew out the lit candle. Leprechaun room next door. Bai Mengmeng and Chu Yuyan slept with their clothes on. Sister Yanur, are you asleep? Bai Mengmeng blushed, and whispered in Chu Yuyan's ear. How can I sleep? Chu Yuyan covered her head in the quilt, her complexion was glamorous. Although I try my best not to hear the happy voice next door. But that voice seems to be able to penetrate everything and go straight to the soul. Sister Yanur, Momo. Next day, 9 o'clock. Susie woke up, sat up, stretched his body slightly, and there was a crackling sound. 0. Seeking flowers. Little goblins will be suppressed after all. Susie smiled triumphantly. No matter how hard the mouth is, it will eventually soften. Look down. The goblin hugged his waist with a sweet smile on his face. On the crystal-clear jade skin, several bite marks could be vaguely seen. Susie gently smoothed her messy long hair so as not to disturb her rest. Then he slowly broke free from his warm, delicate body. Got off the bed, put it on the jade hand outside and put it back under the bed. Only then did I put on my clothes and prepare to go out to wash. After he leaves, the little goblin suddenly opened her eyes, and there was a bit of a smile in her phoenix pupils. Ruoyu raised his eyes and glanced at the room next to him. Last night she almost shouted loudly. How do those two girls feel? Yawn. The little fairy rubbed her eyes sleepily. The master is too good at tossing people. She has to sleep again. Stepping out of the city lord's mansion, Susie opened his arms and stretched. Glance around. Then he noticed that Bai Mengmeng and Chu Yuyan were eating the meat buns and preserved egg porridge from the early tree. Susie was also hungry, so he walked over to say hello. He took off 2 large pork corn buns and put them in his mouth to chew. Suddenly, he noticed that the 2 women suddenly stopped eating, and they all stared at him resentfully. You didn't sleep well last night. Susie noticed the thick dark circles on the eyes of the 2, and asked involuntarily. Who knows? The eyes of the 2 of them became even more resentful. Report 2. 26%. Chapter 105. Your Highness is so fierce, a legacy. Can't bear the inexplicable eyes of the 2. After Susie had breakfast, he went to look for Chi-Chi. He decided to teach her magic today. After Susie left, the 2 women were left looking at each other. Sister, your highness is so fierce. Sister Fairy's voice broke in the end. Bai Mengmeng leaned close to Chu Yuyan's ear, and suddenly sneered. There is nothing she dare not say about the little loli of the dark department. Bah, don't be ashamed. When did Chu Yuyan hear this kind of talk about tigers and wolves? A seductive blush appeared on her beautiful cheeks. She glared at Bai Mengmeng angrily. The legs covered under the skirt of the palace dress curled up unconsciously, rubbing against the 343 bottom of the skirt twice. Shaking his head, he wanted to clear out the confusing voice in his mind. But I always feel that the voice of the goblin sister echoes in my mind for a long time, and I can't get rid of it. A week of tiredness flashed between the eyebrows. Last night's resounding warbler cry. Until the early morning hours, it still falls. And she and Bai Mengmeng. I also stayed up all night, until dawn, before I was able to have fun. After taking a deep breath, Chu Yuyan felt the heat on her body gradually dissipate. Bai Mengmeng, do you think it is necessary to form an alliance with the strength of His Highness? Chu Yuyan was not only thinking about the purpose of their coming to find Suzy. Before witnessing the strength of His Royal Highness Suzy, she also believes that uniting the power of all Vermilion Bird, form the Vermilion Bird Alliance to fight against the White Tiger Alliance. But now, her mind changed, having seen the formidable power of his heroes in arms. She understands. Suzy may not be worried about the White Tiger League. Even his strength alone is enough to compete with the people of the White Tiger League. This made her purpose of coming to Suzy become empty talk. What kind of Vermilion Bird League are you going to form? Let me tell you, Sister Yanur, we might as well hang out with His Highness. Bai Mengmeng casually took out a glass of juice from an unknown tree nearby, sat aside, took a deep breath, stared at her 2 short legs and said calmly. Well, drink it well, Sister Yanur, you love it too. Very sweet, unlike your water, which has a slightly salty taste. Quote. Sister Ynur was like a spouting whale, the entire bed was soaked. Otherwise, they can still sleep in the morning. What salty taste. Chu Yuyan froze for a moment, but soon understood. Immediately, the face that had just recovered became ruddy again, dripping water. Bai Mengmong, I'm talking to you about something serious, don't mention what happened last night, okay? Chu Yuyan pulled Bai Mengmong to her side and covered her mouth when she was speaking. Woo woo woo. Bai Mengmong struggled hard, but couldn't get out, her hands were swaying in the air. I was wrong, Sister Ynur. I will never say that you have too much water, please let me go. Unable to fight, Bai Mengmong immediately begged for mercy through sound transmission. Chu Yuyan has black lines all over her head. The right hand fiercely aimed at Bai Mengmong's petite buttocks a few times. Only then did she let go. Realizing that she could move, Bai Mengmong immediately jumped far away like a rabbit. Sister Ynur, your beating hurts too much. Bai Mengmong pursed her mouth, and kept covering her buttocks with a small hand. Don't use heavy hands, I'm afraid you won't have a long memory. Chu Yuyan gave her an angry look. Okay, Sister Ynur. Instead of worrying about that, let's think about the world battlefield. Bai Mengmong came over, leaned against Chu Yuyan and said. World battlefield. When it comes to the world battlefield that may open at any time, Chu Yuyan's expression immediately becomes serious. No doubt, compared with the world battlefield that is about to open up, the White Tiger League is just a small thing. That is what matters for the life and death of the Lord. Sister Ynur, you must not die. Otherwise, I will cry for you. Bai Mengmong said solemnly. Don't worry, with a legendary unit, no matter how you say it, you won't be able to defeat the first round of the world battlefield. Chu Yuyan smiled lightly and rubbed Bai Mengmong's white hair. In the vast spiritual field. My lord, good morning. Chi-Chi woke up very early today. Then organized the new cat people to get familiar with the territory. See Suzy find. Chi-Chi ran up to Suzy in small steps to say hello. A pair of ruby eyes sneaked a few glances at Suzy. I feel that Lord is in a good mood today. It seems that I am not unhappy because of what happened last night. Suzy smiled at her, flipped his palms. A purple 3-finger-thick book appeared in his hand. Didn't you say you have no power last night? I'll leave this book to you. Suzy handed the Magic Hand Volume 5.4, which has been upgraded to the top level and has unlimited inheritance ability, to Chi-Chi. This is too precious. Chi-Chi was a little flustered. Heritage of power. Only those big orc clans on the Endless Continent can have it. Such a relatively weak race like the rabbit people, but they dare not even think about it. Now the Lord gave it to her. This made her feel a little flattered. Don't refuse, I'm giving this to you so that you can be in charge of the cultivation of other residents in the territory in the future. Suzy waved his hand and said. He can't let each rabbitman and catman pass it down once, right? It's just right to give this task to Chi-Chi. Report. 26%. Chapter 106. Peerless Magic and Monster. Chi-Chi, Suzy of Ecstasy. Okay, let's try passing it on. I don't know if you have the talent for magic yet. Suzy waved his hand and continued. Magic, as a powerful cultivation system in the universe. Naturally, it is impossible for everyone to practice. Even those magical worlds have so-called qualification restrictions. Yes, my lord. When Chi-Chi heard this, she unconsciously became nervous. She didn't want to disappoint the Lord's expectations. Chi-Chi reached out and opened the first page of the magic handbook. A brilliant brilliance flashes away. Chi-Chi saw the content on the first page. Meditation of all things. There are several inexplicable ancient bronzing runes written on the top. Although Chi-Chi couldn't read it, she could understand the meaning. Below the runes, it is the operation root of the all things meditation method. Get the practice method. Chi-Chi didn't hesitate anymore. 08 immediately sat up cross-legged, imitating the operation root of the 1000 things meditation method in his mind. Seeing this, Suzy didn't bother, but stood aside to protect the letter. Meditation. It is a method for magicians to channel the energy of Tongtian, just like the practice of cultivating immortals in the world. It's just that the cosmic energy absorbed by the two sides is different, and the essence is the same. Unlike magic, all races in the universe can practice. For example, some Zerg races use magic to analyze everything in the universe. Cultivation of immortals can only be practiced by humans and monsters. Due to the reason, it is this kind of cultivation system, a Tongtian avenue that the supreme human race and the supreme monster race spent endless time to walk through. If other races want to cultivate immortals, they must either transform into humans or demons. Relying on the system of cultivating immortals, the human race and the monster race do not know how much cosmic luck they have competed for. Magic, as a cultivation system common to all races in the universe. Highly valued talent. Talented monsters can even break through the realm of the 9th level Great Magister in just a few years and become the supreme magic god. A powerful Dharma god. One person is enough to destroy a universe, and his strength is extremely terrifying. Of course, more are mediocre magicians, relying on long years of accumulation and chance. Just now there was a chance to surpass the Great Magister and become a god of law. To test a person's magic cultivation aptitude, it is to look at the time when it runs the meditation method for the first time and attracts the magic energy in the universe to descend. I don't know how long Chi-Chi will take. Suzy naturally hopes that Chi-Chi has magical talent. But this is innate and cannot be changed the day after tomorrow. According to records in books, being able to successfully operate the meditation method and absorb the magic energy of the universe within a month belongs to the scope of ordinary people. If it exceeds this time, it means that there is no talent for magic cultivation. If it can be successfully operated within 10 days, it can be rated as a genius. The future Great Magister is expected. If you can absorb the magic energy of the universe in one day, you can be rated as a monster. In the magic universe, it is called the seed of the god of law. He will be scrambled by top magic academies, and even have the opportunity to become a disciple of the god of law. Suzy remembered that there was a record in the book. In Blue Star, there was once a person in the Western Alliance who failed the Lord's trial and switched to the Dharma cultivation system. Within an hour, he successfully absorbed the magic energy of the universe. Once the news was announced, even leading to the supreme of the magical universe, personally descending. Shu human race has huge interests, just to take it away. However, the supreme human race refused after deliberation. Because throughout the history of the magical universe, anyone who can absorb the magic energy of the universe within an hour, they are all known as the supreme seed. One can imagine such a talent. How could the human race be willing to let go? It is recorded in the book. On that day, Tianwo appeared outside the Blue Star, as its people. A shocking battle happened. It is unknown what the final outcome will be. All I know is that that person has become a supreme, registered disciple, of the magic universe. Also from now on, Blue Star and the magic universe form an alliance. Tens of millions of years passed. Now that Supreme Seed has lived up to everyone's expectations, and has become Blue Star's famous Sunri Dharma god. The most glorious record is to fight against a god emperor lord without losing. It can be described as extremely tyrannical. Suzy thought about it, and was suddenly taken aback. I saw Chi-Chi's side was surrounded by lavender light spots. No way. Suzy stared wide-eyed, looking at Chi-Chi. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. A terrible conjecture emerged in Suzy's mind. Time passed bit by bit. While Suzy was stunned, the purple cosmic magic energy surrounding Chi-Chi turned into a huge vortex of magic energy, like a huge funnel. And Chi-Chi's body seemed to be like an extremely thirsty sponge. He never refuses the alien cosmic magic energy, frantically absorbing the cosmic magic energy in the void like a whale. This talent is against the sky. Suzy was very excited and clenched his fists. 1 minute, almost a minute, 703 since Chi-Chi started to sit cross-legged, within a minute, she had already started to absorb the magic energy of the void. It's unheard of. If it is known to the outside world, I'm afraid the Tianzhou competition may be terminated directly. Suzy never expected that Chi-Chi's talent would be so terrifying. 1 minute. It is even more enchanting than the 1 hour of Yaori fashion. If he is the so-called Supreme Seed, so Chi-Chi will surely become the highest. Hi, my lord, I'm so full. Hip. Chi-Chi opened her eyes in a daze, hiccuping uncontrollably, with those swaying rabbit ears. Suzy hugged Chi-Chi excitedly, and planted a strawberry on her right cheek. Chi-Chi, you are too good. Yes, is it? As long as the lord is happy. Hiccup. A smirk appeared on the corner of Chi-Chi's mouth. She was a little shy by Suzy's sudden sneak attack. But the lord is so happy. Chi-Chi felt very happy in her heart. Ha ha ha, of course I'm happy. The corner of Suzy's mouth showed the height of the Dragon King. He was very happy. If his domain can have two supreme, then in the cosmic sea, he can walk sideways. Report, 26%. Chapter 107. Planning Chi-Chi's future path, taking the wrong way. Put Chi-Chi on the ground. Suzy stared at Chi-Chi, unable to calm down. This is the supreme future. No one can let go easily. Call. Suzy took a deep breath, trying to calm down the excitement in his heart as much as possible. Chi-Chi must not be discovered by others. If outsiders know about Chi-Chi's terrifying talent in practicing magic, I'm afraid it will be taken at all costs. So you must hide it well, and you must not expose it until you have enough strength. Chi-Chi, remember, no matter who asks you when you first absorbed cosmic magic energy, don't say you know. Suzy solemnly warned Chi-Chi. Yes, I promise, even if Elder Fairy asks me, I won't say anything. It was the first time Chi-Chi saw the Lord so solemn, and she assured her without hesitation. At the same time, I secretly rejoiced. This is a secret exclusively between her and the Lord. Suzy nodded, and continued to exhort. And in the future, you must never practice outside the territory. If you practice, you must be in the city lord's mansion. No way. Chi-Chi's cultivation is too noisy. In the territory, there can also be a world tree to cover, so that the outside world cannot deduce and discover. But if an outsider sees Chi-Chi's terrifying cultivation activities, everyone knows that she must be a top-level cultivator. I listened to the Lord. Chi-Chi nodded heavily, with an extremely sincere expression on her face. As long as you do these two things, as long as there are no accidents, you should not be discovered. Before he became a god of law, Suzy will try to prohibit it from leaving the territory. Only in the territory. Only then will there be the protection of the world tree. When it comes to the outside world, who knows if there will be any magical things that will sense the fall. There are too many means in the universe. There are so many ways to find someone. Only after Chi-Chi becomes a Dharma god and can cover herself, can she move freely. But since Chi-Chi has such a talent, it cannot be wasted. Suzy thought in his heart. But there aren't many magical materials in my territory, not even enough for Chi-Chi to practice alone. However, resources on the magic side are not uncommon, and there is a high probability that other lords will have them. After the opening of the First World Battlefield, there is a high probability that the main city of the human race will open. At that time, there will definitely be a large number of lords going to trade. At that time, a large amount of magic resources can be traded. Magic is a big consumer of resources, but as long as Chi-Chi grows up, she can definitely earn back resources 100-fold. Suzy smiled lightly. Today's luck is really great. However, Chi-Chi's talent is so powerful, so will other residents have geniuses. Although it is impossible for another Chi-Chi to appear. But if there can be one or two geniuses with the talent of the god of law, then he will also make a lot of money. Suzy thought about it, and turned to the channel. Chi-Chi, I will leave this magic manual to you. You can learn some of the magic in it slowly. However, I hope you can help test the magical talents of other residents in the territory. Leave it to me, I promise to complete the task. When Chi-Chi heard that this was the Lord's order, she immediately patted her proud chest and said, "It's hard work." Suzy reached out and rubbed Chi-Chi's head. As long as Chi-Chi can help Lord. Chi-Chi smiled sweetly, then hurried out holding the magic manual in her arms. She doesn't know what her magical talents are, but judging by the Lord's expression, it shouldn't be bad. She was finally no longer a drag in the territory. She must work hard to become stronger. In the future, he will become the Lord's right-hand man. Send Chi-Chi away. Suzy went to the World Tree and called the Shenliu who was stationed next to the Lingquan over. Lingquan since ascending to the 9th level. The powerful spirit gathering function is highlighted. The surrounding aura is so thick that it is almost liquefied. For plant heroes, it has a huge effect. The heroes of Suzy are usually stationed next to the Lingquan unwilling to leave. Shenliu has now advanced to the 8th level. Its evolution is unique, relying on absorbing countless believers and entering the 3,000 worlds opened up in its body. Survive, reproduce, and provide faith in it. Become its source of strength. Somewhat similar to the Shinto of incense in Suzy's previous life. What amazed Suzy the most? It is Shenliu who has never killed a life since its birth. Purify with skills every time. It will purify all the souls of a living being. No Jiao Jiao. Become its most loyal believers. Backquote. Now that Shenliu has broken through to the 8th level, her strength is no longer what it used to be. I don't know if I can purify other races and make them my faithful believers. Suzy secretly looked forward to it. Suzy doesn't want to take the road of refining other people's godhead, so he can only condense his own godhead. Now Suzy's territory is slowly approaching level 100. The power of faith must be prepared in advance. He doesn't have the support of his family behind him, and he can only gain faith by himself. If the power of faith is more than 100 points per day, I don't know when I want to get enough to condense the godhead. So he had no choice but to go the wrong way with the sword. And obviously, Willow Gods, purification, may be just what he needs. Report, 27%. Chapter 108. The soaring power of faith, the bewildered Alice, Xiao Wanqing is saved. My lord. Alice was startled when she saw the man who suddenly appeared in front of her, who was trying to make insect soldiers. The person she is most afraid of now is Suzy. I don't know why Suzy came to him suddenly this time. Look for 100 insect soldiers of all ranks. Suzy didn't talk nonsense, and directly explained his purpose. Yes, although she didn't know why Suzy asked her for insect soldiers again, she just had to do it. Soon, from the first level to the 5th level insect soldiers, 20 of them came to Suzy. When these insect soldiers saw Suzy for the first time, they immediately prostrated themselves on the ground one by one, respecting Suzy very much. Suzy nodded slightly. Obviously, Alice trained these bug soldiers very well. Shenliu, come and try. Suzy turned sideways to make room for Shenliu behind him. Lord, please rest assured, leave the rest to me. A very gentle voice sounded in Suzy's mind. There was no surprise on Suzy's face. Enter the 8th stage. Not only the divine willow, but even the cattail tree and the parasitic spores can already transmit sound with spiritual thoughts. But Suzy looks forward to it more. The moment they become gods in the future. Don't know what will become. Well, after all, those orc lords can transform into forms when their heroes become gods. There's no reason plants can't do it. Compared to before Suzy, no plant department can become a god. So Suzy is destined to be the creator of history. The figure of the divine willow floating in midair, with slender and green branches floating in the air. 100 insect soldiers looked curiously at the figure in the sky. Suddenly, from the main trunk to every branch of Shenliu, it began to emit light green fluorescence. The light gradually spreads. This moment, Shenliu seemed to have turned into the most sacred god, standing in the center of the light. Like a savior, a green wicker brushed over the heads of 100 insect soldiers, shedding a little light. Moment. Hundreds of insect soldiers who were looking up at the sky suddenly trembled, and then suddenly closed their eyes. My lord, please stand in front of them and let them see you first. Shenliu transmits sound to Suzy. Suzy nodded, stepped forward, and stood in front of them, looking directly at the 100 insect soldiers. He knows that victory or defeat depends on one action. Next second, hundreds of insect soldiers opened their dark eyes, the moment they saw Suzy. The calm eyes suddenly turned into fiery admiration. Suzy checks the territory information immediately. Territory. Natural territory. Affiliation. Suzy. Grade. 88. Area. 4,000 square kilometers. Architecture. Watching pool, city lord's mansion, pond, fan building. Transformation 4,000 source crystals per day, 400 source points per day. 435800. Power of faith, 101,400 strands per day. The number of residents went from 435 to 800. The extra 365 were just created by Alice. However, the power of faith has increased directly from 101 strands to 400 strands per day, a full quadruple. You have to know that there were hundreds of new cat people added before, and it was only barely breaking 100. The power of faith produced by these 100 fanatical believers is terrifying. Suzy realized the AIDG chemical reaction of Shenliu's purification, plus Zerg production units, the combination of the two. Obviously, the method he found was correct. But now there are only 100 insect soldiers, which has already increased the power of faith by a large amount. If more believers, it is enough to increase Suzy's power of faith by a large margin. This moment, Suzy even started to complain about the Zerg in his heart. What about an attack? What about the gauntlet? I have been waiting for 2 days. As a result, there is no sign of a Zerg now. Suzy didn't know why the Zerg moved so slowly. In fact, if Suzy asked Alice, she might have a deep understanding. After all, the first essence of Zerg action is stability. But Suzy is already thinking about the future on the battlefield. Under the premise of guaranteeing the first, whether to kill or not to kill. After all, killing is just a one-shot deal. But after being captured, it can become a machine that continuously provides faith. In the world battlefield, we must catch more alien races and bring them back into captivity. Suzy made a silent decision in his heart. At this time, Alice was stunned. When she saw the bug soldiers she made, she even gave Suzy a frenzied look. This look, even in the face of her empress, she never showed it. What's going on here? Alice tried to summon these bug soldiers. But these insect soldiers no longer obeyed her orders at all. Now, she has lost control of these bug soldiers. Suzy didn't answer her question. From now on, you will give the bug soldiers you made to Shenliu regularly. Put them in her space. Suzy made arrangements directly. Now the Zerg created by a single Zerg queen is still very slow. He also wouldn't come once a day to let Shenliu purify them. So the best way is to put it in the space of Shenliu first. Wait until the number is large. He once again completed the conversion of faith. Yes, I see. Although a little confused, Alice did not dare to disobey Susie's order. Suddenly, Susie seemed to have remembered something, and suddenly said to Shenliu, "Can your source of life heal?" "Of course. As long as there is still a breath, it can be saved," Shenliu said proudly. Hearing this, Susie showed joy. Now Xiao Wanqing can be cured directly. "Ah, it's 3 more today. Sorry, I have something to do at home, I'll make it up tomorrow." Report, 27%. Chapter 109. Life and Death, Flesh and Bones, the most beautiful is nothing more than a thread of sky. Susie's eyes hit the slender trunk of Shenliu, and a message appeared in front of him. Shenliu. Race, plant, quality, supreme, grade, 77. Talent, 3,000 worlds. Physique, 9 million. Agility, 8 million. Spirit, 9.99 million. Skills, purification. Everyone who is purified is my believer. Deadly lancet, 1,000 leaves, 10,000 swords, Lu Yifei knife, no bullets. Source of life, life and death, flesh and bones, inverse reincarnation, a mortal body. 1 leaf still exists, then the willow will never die. Growth stage, growth stage. Loyalty, 10-0% permanent. Introduction. Relying on faith, the divine willow can also turn into the willow god. The 8th level God Willow, the attributes have already surpassed most of the 9th level units, and even the spirit has reached 9.99 million. Shenliu may be like Xiaoju, breaking the attachment of tens of millions of combat power. Purification, deadly willow knife, and source of life remain the same, but there is a new skill, immortality. Now, Shenliu's life-saving ability is absolutely amazing. With a single leaf, you can be resurrected. I am afraid that such an ability can only be achieved by gods. Susie not only lamented the power of the supreme hero. Even skills like immortality can be possessed. Talking room. The divine willow stretched out in front of Susie on a slender wicker branch. A drop of crystal clear green water converges on the tip of the willow. Eventually dripping, Susie took it, to see its effect. Source of life. Quality. Legend. Effect. Life and death, flesh and bones, reborn in nirvana. Restrictions on use. 8th order. Introduction. The legendary source of life can restore everything from the essence of life. It turned out to be legendary quality. Susie's pupils shrank, a little surprised. The source of life created by Shenliu has reached the legendary level. In the outside world, such a legendary source of life. Priceless. Thanks for your hard work. Susie said something grateful to her, and then disappeared from the spot in a flash. Shenliu didn't stay too long, and brought 100 insect soldiers into the space, and then returned to beside the spiritual spring again, enjoying the spiritual bath. The master is getting stronger and stronger. Alice not only sighed. She seemed to be unable to keep up with Susie's pace. City Lord's Mansion, Lingyan Pavilion. This is the residence that Susie specially assigned to Xiao Wanqing. Wanqing, are you feeling better today? Susie sat by the bed and asked Xiao Wanqing with concern. Much better, thank you for your concern. Xiao Wanqing's complexion was still a little pale, and when she saw Susie coming, she got up and saluted. No, but before he got up, Susie pushed him down with one hand. I brought a holy medicine for healing, you try it. As Susie said, he handed the source of life into Xiao Wanqing's hands. This is, Xiao Wanqing stretched out her slender jade hand and took it. Out of curiosity, I checked the information of source of life. As a result, her beautiful eyes trembled. The young master actually gave her a legendary treasure for her healing. My lord, Wanqing's injury doesn't matter, there is no need to consume such a treasure. Please take it back, my lord. Xiao Wanqing was deeply moved. The young master has already given her precious legendary units, giving her the hope of continuing to become bloody. Now he found such a precious treasure for her to heal her wounds. I'm afraid Susie is the best lord in the world for subordinate lords. Even those aristocratic families have never heard of handing over the legendary arms to the subordinate lords. She has already received such a great kindness from the young master. How can you use legendary treasures to heal your wounds again? This is too extravagant. The legendary healing elixir is enough for Susie to exchange for a lot of resources. 0. Seeking flowers. No need to waste it on yourself. It's not something precious. As long as you recover early, everything is worth it. Susie waved his hand, and pushed that source of life over again. This kind of treasure was originally produced by Shenliu. It may be an extremely precious treasure to others. But for Susie, there is as much as you want. Thank you, son. Wanqing wishes to follow you forever. Seeing Susie's tough attitude, Xiao Wanqing was even more moved. She did not choose the wrong person. Suzy is worthy of her eternal life. Eat it quickly and see the effect. Suzy smiles. 0. It would be nice if Xiao Wanqing had a stronger sense of belonging to the territory. Xiao Wanqing nodded, and put the source of life in her mouth. Just put it in your mouth. She felt. The source of life rushed to the limbs and bones. Then a strong vitality surged from his body, and the wound on his back was being repaired at a speed visible to the naked eye. As if returning to her mother's embrace, Xiao Wanqing felt as if she had entered a warm ocean. Slowly close your eyes. Xiao Wanqing's body gradually floated in midair. Countless green Luyi emerged out of thin air, enveloping Xiao Wanqing in it. Wanqing is in nirvana. Seeing this situation, Suzy couldn't help guessing. I don't know how Xiao Wanqing changed after the thorough restoration. Time passes like water. I don't know how long it has been. Cracks gradually appear from the top of the huge Luyi ball. Then it seemed to reach a certain point. Boom. Countless Luyi turned into light spots and dissipated in the air. Young master. Xiao Wanqing was floating in the air. The first time she opened her eyes, she saw Suzy. Standing in the air, with a slight smile on her beautiful face, she can overwhelm the country and the city. Looking up at Xiao Wanqing, Suzy froze for a moment. His Adam's apple fluctuated up and down. The most beautiful is nothing more than a line of sky. Billion. Report. 27%. Chapter 110. Xiao Wanqing for a lifetime, the world battlefield opens. Xiao Wanqing was a little shy by Suzy's scorching gaze. Looking down, I suddenly understood. In an instant, a blush climbed from the girl's neck to her cheeks, and finally disappeared behind her red ears. Young master. Xiao Wanqing couldn't help but let out a shy cry, and didn't dare to stay any longer, quickly rolled up the quilt on the bed, covering her graceful figure. Only a pair of beautiful jewel-like eyes dodged Suzy's gaze. Seeing Xiao Wanqing's appearance, Suzy couldn't help but feel flustered. Once the cold goddess in the school, the flower of jailing in the East Pavilion. Now she is ashamed of herself. A strong sense of pride, 560, suddenly surged in my heart. Such a beauty is her own from now on. Slowly approach and sit beside the bed. Xiao Wanqing looked at the handsome face of Suzy who was getting closer. The body subconsciously tenses up. She felt her heart beating wildly, like a swallow dancing for joy. Subconsciously pursed his lips, crescent eyebrows, trembling slightly, beautiful eyes closed. Memories flooded my mind. The first time she noticed Suzy was when she passed the first monthly exam at school. That time, she was always number 1 in school since she was a child. But only at Suzy's place did he fall into the sand. Also since then, she remembered the name, Suzy. After class, she once secretly glanced at Suzy at the gate of Suzy's class. At that time, I only thought that this boy who surpassed her. Surprisingly good-looking, eyebrows star and sword eyes, tall and straight, temperamental and straight, like a living immortal. Let her have a little loss. But her unwillingness to be compared to others made her spend more effort on her studies in the days to come. For this reason, he does not hesitate to ignore the so-called interpersonal relationship. Just to surpass the goal in my heart. Unfortunately 2 years have passed. He kept pressing her head. Although she was unwilling, she was still not discouraged. Thinking that they will be competing after awakening. But that day she learned that what Suzy awakened was the plant department. When she heard the news, she couldn't believe it. How could it be possible that the boy who had always surpassed her only awakened the plant department? She was very disappointed at the time, regrettably. Originally thought that the competition between them would end here. But in the end, Suzy was beyond everyone's expectations and persisted until the end. It is even the top of the Tianzhou ranking. Become your highness of the Vermilion Bird clan. Transform into a real dragon and roam the 9 heavens. That moment, she stood in the corner of the square, watching him. Also from there, she just found out, her heart was already filled with that figure. But she can't seem to catch up with him anymore. She wants to catch, so she entered the Tianzhou competition, and when she heard about Suzy, she came to him without hesitation. On the way too, chased by the White Tiger League, all the elves died on the way. But she finally made it to his territory. Now, she became his vassal lord. From then on, the two were completely bound. No matter how far he walked, she could still see his figure. Suzy smiled, seeing Xiao Wanqing's slightly trembling eyelashes, and slightly pursed cherry-pink lips. Knowing that she was also very nervous. But Suzy won't be impatient to ask Xiao Wanqing now. Hands outstretched, touching her flamboyant face, Suzy's thumb swayed slightly on her face. Open your eyes. Leaning down, Suzy whispered softly next to Xiao Wanqing's ear. Xiao Wanqing felt the sound of warm breathing coming from her ears, tremblingly opened her beautiful eyes. Then I saw Susie's star-like eyes, reflecting her shadow. Her eyes swung from side to side from time to time, a little shy. The corners of Susie's mouth curled up slightly. He bowed his head and kissed the cherry lips, and the fragrance poured into his mouth. Xiao Wanqing was a little shy at first, but then she gradually became familiar with it. 10 minutes later, Xiao Wanqing was already leaning against Susie's chest limply, her hands tightly hugging Susie's waist. There was always a faint smile on Susie's face, and the side face gently rubbed against Xiao Wanqing's soft black hair. Wanqing, may I call you Wanner from now on? Susie said softly. My lord is willing, so let's call. Xiao Wanqing smiled, obviously liking Susie's address for her. A pair of smiling eyes, full of the shadow of Susie. She is very lucky to be with such a man in this life. Okay, from now on I will call you Wanner, my Wanner. Susie emphasized at the end. He found that he really liked seeing Xiao Wanqing's shy look. Put on your clothes and I'll show you around 5.5 down the territory. Susie thought for a while and said. He wanted to introduce Xiao Wanqing to other people in the territory. Especially let Xiao Wanqing and the little goblin meet. I hope the two can have a friendly exchange. Xiao Wanqing was also very curious about Susie's territory, so she nodded slightly. You go out first. Xiao Wanqing was a little embarrassed, and whispered softly. Okay, then I'll wait for you outside. Susie kissed her on the forehead lightly, and then got up to leave. However, the next moment, his face suddenly became serious. A majestic voice sounded beside his ears. The world battlefield opens, and the teleportation will start in an hour. Please all lords get ready. In an hour. Please all lords get ready. In an hour. Please all lords get ready. In an hour. Please all